The scene is set for tonight's NFL draft in Las Vegas, and it's unlike any before.
Starting with the red carpet stage, which is built in the man-made lake that is home to the world-famous Bellagio fountains. NFL prospects will walk this stage, and it will also play host to musical performances from some of Vegas's top acts.
Las Vegas was supposed to host the draft in 2020, but the pandemic canceled those plans. 2 years later, the Sin City is ready to go, and they're going to run the fountain with this at the same time?
I think so. I think so.
All right, well, what should Green Bay Packer fans be watching for tonight? Jim Rutledge from ESPN Madison joins us with a preview. The Packers have a first-round draft picks. Jim, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, you lose Davante Adams and you end up adding a draft pick, so that works out.
So who should they pick in the first round?
So I'm of the belief, and there's a report from Tom Pelissero, who used to work in Green Bay, I think, for the Gazette up there, now works for NFL.com, that the Packers are one of the teams that are contacting teams higher up in the draft. The Packers currently hold the 22nd and 29th pick. That the Packers may be looking to trade up. If they trade up, I think they're definitely going to get a receiver. There's a lot. Chris Olave is a guy that everyone is in love with here. He's an Ohio State guy. He's not the #1 wide receiver. Drake London, the guy from USC, is another guy. George Patterson from Ohio State, another name that's viewed very high on the list. So if they trade up, I think they should go up and take one of those wide receivers. If they sit pat, you know, you can see an offensive lineman, a safety, a cornerback. You can see any of these positions go. They need help at tight end. I don't think those go all in the first round, but there's a lot of need for the Packers despite them being a very good team.
What, if any, input do you think Aaron Rodgers has in the selections that'll be made tonight?
Well, it's interesting to juxtapose Russell Wilson's input in Denver, the new quarterback out in Denver. He was talking to his GM, George Patton, said, hey, Russ and I are talking every day. He's a wealth of football knowledge, and we want to pick his brain and figure out who he thinks should be good. That might have contributed to Melvin Gordon going back to the Broncos a day ago to a contract that could be up to $5 million. Meanwhile, Gutekunst, maybe he's not a wordsmith. It was very weird on how he described it. It was a lot of hemming and hawing of like, yeah, Aaron and I talk, and we want his input, but final decisions come down to us. So it just didn't seem as quite as collaborative, maybe what's going on in Denver. So I hope they've asked Aaron, his thoughts maybe ahead of time, but it doesn't sound like Aaron's going to serve as a tiebreaker or have heavy involvement in the draft. I think that's a mistake, especially talking about the wide receiver position. Yeah, I mean, D lineman, sure, whatever, but even offensive lineman. But if Aaron's got a thought on a playmaking wide receiver, I think it's worth getting it, especially if they send him some tape and he watched it and shared his feedback.
Absolutely. Now, are there any Badgers going in the first round?
Not in the first round. I think Leo Chanel's probably the highest guy you'll see get drafted, followed by Jake Ferguson. And then, former Badger Jack Cohen could fall somewhere in there. And then Jack Sanborn's another guy that could end up getting drafted. Maybe Matt Higginson is the last guy to get drafted for the Badgers. But they're all probably weekend picks. I don't even know if some of them get picked tomorrow. Maybe Chanel tomorrow. But most of those guys, the draft now spreads out over the weekend. Most of those guys are going to be picks over the weekend.
All right, so it goes all the way through the weekend.
Yeah, it's a busy time. I mean, why not? The draft industrial complex starts the day after the NFL season ends with mock drafts, and you got draft grades, you got combine, you got all that. I mean, we got to stay busy, so, we got to spread it out.
Who do you think will go first?
I'm going to go with Hutchinson, the defensive end from Michigan. The Jacksonville Jaguars need that position, and I can see him going there. So I'll go with kind of the layup. I'm sure the Lions at #2 would love the Michigan kid to end up there, but I think he'll go #1.
All right, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, just to watch the show, too,
always
in
a fun night.
Wow.
All right, Jim,
make a spectacle out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The NFL's known for that. All right, Jim, thank you.
Great to see you, Jim. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.